Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and today I'm going to be doing a versus video between the Nike PG4 and Spencer Dinwiddie shoe, the K8IROS Mark II. So the PG4 is going for 110 bucks and the Nike ID version is going for 130 bucks. And then this shoe is going for 130 bucks. So pretty competitive pricing. If you guys want to cop either of these shoes, I'll leave a link in the description box. But yeah, I thought this would be a good versus video. They're both incredible performers. I love playing both of them. And they both have a very good price. So yeah, let's get it started off with the tracciones. So as far as the traction goes, I'm gonna have to give it to the K8IROS. So on the clean court, the K8IROS has an incredible bite. I would say even harder than the PG4s, even though the PG4 still has a solid bite. And then on the dusty setting, the K8IROS is a good amount better. At first it picked up a little bit of dust, but then, as I broke it in, it started to pick up less dust, which is interesting. But then even if it does pick up dust, which is rare, it's a really easy and slight wipe on the K8IROS. So really good performance. So the K8IROS has exceptional performance on dust. The PG4, it's still pretty good. It never gets dangerous. Even if there's a lot of dust that gets stuck on the PG4, you never slide out dangerously. It's just not a good stop. And then it's a really easy slight wipe. I wouldn't say it's as easy as the K8IROS, but it's still pretty easy. And then once you wipe, you're good to go. But then it picks up dust again fairly quickly compared to the K8IROS. So the K8IROS better on dust. Durability as well, I would say the K8IROS is better. The PG4, the rubber frays, and then the rubber is also super soft. Outdoor use is not recommended. So that's very disappointing. A lot of Nike shoes that I've played in, the rubber is soft, but not only that, the rubber frays off. And then these soft nub parts rip off and all that. So durability isn't the greatest. The K8IROS, I have absolutely no fraying, which surprised me a lot. And then these grooves are really thin as well, but I have no ripping off, I have no fraying or anything. So I feel like the K8IROS is better with durability. So the traction, all three categories are better for the K8IROS. And another added benefit is the K8IROS has an outsole curvature, which feels very nice. You have extra rubber coming up here on the medial side, which gives you grip when you're doing this type of movement. The PG4 is more just flat. Alright, moving on to the heel to toe transition, they're both buttery smooth. You have a lot of heel compression. You have a nice curved shape here in the heel as well as in the forefoot. And they're both easily bent in the forefoot as well. So buttery smooth for both of them. I love it. Moving on to the cushion. Alright, the cushion is quite hard because I really like both of them. But I would have to give the edge to the PG4 because I love this air strobo unit. It's incredible. If it was just the foam, I might give it a tie or maybe give the edge to the K8IROS because they're both very comfortable. There's a lot of compression, not a lot of bounce from the foams, but the PG4 with this strobo unit is bouncy when you're running around. When you're walking around and doing slow movements, it's more soft. But then once you start sprinting and then once you start actually playing, it gets a little bit more bouncy. Definitely not as bouncy as Zoom though, don't get me wrong, but it still gets slightly bouncy compared to the K8IROS. And I would say the court feel is a little bit better in the PG4 as well. Impact protection is great in both of the shoes and they're both very comfortable. So because of that extra air strobo unit that's in the PG4, I'd say I like the PG4 better, but the K8IROS is still a great option. Alright, moving on to the materials. The materials are actually pretty damn nice in both of them. The PG4 has a shroud. It looks like a shit mesh, but it's actually nice, more like a textile mesh, which doesn't feel bad. And underneath that, you have a neoprene booty, which is basically a one booty upper. And it's pretty similar here in the K8IROS. The material here that they're using is a textile mesh with a rubberized texture on it. Kind of waterproofs it and gives extra durability as well. And then underneath that, you basically have a one booty neoprene upper. So pretty similar materials. As far as the thickness goes, I would say the PG4 is a little bit thicker, even though they're both dual layered. I mean, not by much, the PG4 is still pretty thin. They're both very soft, and on foot, they're both very comfortable. As far as the padding goes, I would say the PG4 has a good amount more padding here in the heel area, especially right behind your Achilles, as well as in the tongue. So if you like a more padded upper, especially here in the ankle area, the PG4 is way more comfortable. If you want more of a minimal approach, the K8IROS has very minimal padding. Then go with the K8IROS. To be honest, I like to have a really thin material in the toe area, But then I like a good amount of padding here in the tongue and in the ankle area, so I'd have to give the edge to the PG4, but the K8IROS is still really nice. Alright, moving on to the fit. Go true to size with the K8IROS, and it fits me perfectly. Width-wise, I would say slightly narrow. There's absolutely no dead space or anything, and then length-wise, that was good. For the PG4s, you have to go up half a size, and then once I went up half a size, it was a perfect fit for me as well. Like very similar fits for both of these. Putting them on is kind of a chore though. I mean, especially with the K8IROS. Even though I broke this in, it's still kind of hard for me to put on, but the PG4 definitely feels a lot easier to put on than the K8IROS. Not a huge deal, it doesn't affect performance or anything, but it's just kind of like an ease of mind convenience thing for me. So there's that. Alright, moving on to support and lockdown. I had no issues with either of them. Like lateral containment, I was okay. You know, my foot wasn't moving out of the footbed or anything in either of the shoes. Lateral stability was good as well. They're both low and wide bases. Like, you see that? Even though the K8IROS has an outrigger, like a lot of you guys were thinking the PG4s weren't going to be stable laterally because it doesn't really have an outrigger. But then they just make the entire base of the shoe wider, you know, like the outsole and midsole. So they're both, actually I would say the PG4 is even a little bit wider. And look at this, look at what's interesting. Look at how much longer the PG4 is, that's crazy. These are the same size, and look at how much like all of this is all cushion. This midsole protrudes out a lot, and there's a lot of padding here right behind your Achilles, which also pushes your foot forward. So yeah, the PG4 is kind of crazy. But as far as support and lockdown goes, I'll have to give it a tie. Moving on to the weight, I believe the K8IROS is going to be a lot lighter. So basically 11 ounces for the K8IROS, and then PG4 is like 12 point something. 12.6. So an ounce and a half lighter for the K8IROS, and then you can definitely feel the weight. It definitely feels lighter on foot and more minimal. Like the materials are thinner, especially here in the ankle area. And I also think it has something to do with the foam. Like the foam, this Pebax material compound is actually really light. That's why Nike uses it in their running shoes. Like in the running shoes, they want to keep it as light as possible. And I don't think this foam in the PG4 is super light. So that's just one thing that contributes to the weight. Like when you're playing in both of them, you feel very, very quick and light on your feet, which is one thing that I love. It's like not clunky, it feels smooth and fluid when you're playing. As for casual use, like are you gonna be okay just casually walking around in them all day? Like if you're working or something, going out. Yes, they're both incredibly comfortable. I would say I would have to give the edge to the PG4 because I love that air strobel unit. But this K8IROS is still incredibly comfortable. You can't go wrong with it. Moving on to the durability, I don't know guys. I mean, I feel like the PG4 upper is gonna last a little bit longer because there's two materials, like the shroud and this neoprene booty. The K8IROS feels a little bit thinner, but then I guess there is fuse here in the toe cap areas. The outsole, the K8IROS definitely feels a little bit better than the PG4. As far as the ventilation goes, I would say the K8IROS is a little bit better because the material is a little bit thinner. And, you know, like I said, there's an entire material over this neoprene booty. You know, you have this entire shroud, so it gets a little bit warmer than the K8IROS. As far as the aesthetics go, I don't know, they're both okay to me. They're definitely not the greatest looking shoes. So I'd have to tie it up for aesthetics. Tell us what you guys think looks better down in the comment section below. But wrapping things up, the PG4 is $20 cheaper. Retail price is 110 bucks. The K8IROS Mark II is 130 bucks. So if you're trying to save money, and $20 is quite a bit of difference, I would say the PG4 is the better option. But if price didn't matter, then which one would I pick? I don't know guys, they're both really, really nice. They're very similar, I would say. I like the K8IROS a little bit better in terms of traction. Like the PG4 was very lackluster compared to the PG3. You know, the PG3 was so nice. So if the K8IROS traction was on the PG4, like the performance as well as the outsole curvature, the PG4 would be incredible. Like I like the cushion a little bit better in the PG4, but the K8IROS is still nice. Materials, very thin, very minimal, very soft on foot. Support and lockdown is all there. So surprisingly, the K8IROS holds its own against the PG4, which is insane. You know, like this came out of nowhere. It's a very surprising shoe for me performance-wise. So yeah, I mean, like they're both gonna be in my rotation, and you can't go wrong with either of them. I will say this, I'll probably take both of these shoes to the gym when I'm playing, but if the court is dusty and dirty, I'll definitely play with these. If they just cleaned it and it's a clean floor, then I'll probably be playing in my PG4s. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, if you guys want to cop, I'll leave links below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next one.